Hey everybody, giving a quick behind the scenes of my Spider-Man video. As you can see here, I am basically going through and I picked my poses. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. My track patterns being as retarded as possible. And I will just clean it up a little bit. Kind of want him to sit up more like he should. Just to kind of do one of these. If you notice, when you use reference, you try to do like a line of action. You know, you want your pose to look as close to what you're referencing. You know, more of this portion here, and also what the rig is doing. It's going a little nuts. So what I'll do here is, and those are usually in your rotations, and anything else, there's usually little bumps. So I'll run what's called the Euler filter. I'll go ahead, throw everything into an auto tangent. I should probably do that actually with the full rig selected. Take all of your animation line, hit auto tangent, because if you're working in stepped mode, which I have, which is over here, and whatnot with your so as you can see, I'm using a reference background. This is basically real quick what it looks like to be an animator, real quick. So right now, there's my last frame down here. These are my full keyframes right here. I can explain the graph editor some other time. I'm not really going to go into it. It's mainly what you'll use a lot for your polishing. You can animate from it, but it can be a little tedious. So here's what to do. Right now, I'm not going to worry about the hands right now. And my feet are pretty much exactly where I want my poses. And if we're all wondering where Spider-Man went, he went over to here. So basically what I'm doing is every single time I look at the curvature of the back. I know I have the camera set up a little differently, but you can easily just kind of view it within your perspective view. And I can just tweak that a little bit more just to kind of get like a good initial, you know, I want to push my pose as much as possible because this is what shows a lot of body weight right here. You know, your hip movements, all of that. And always remember when your chest is forward, your hips go, um, you know, back. They push back. And when your chest is in the full upright position, you know, they kind of level out. So what I usually do is I'll take my full keys, count, because I like to stay within timing. This is, I believe, 4 frames apart. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. That was a couple jumps actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. Is there much difference between 4 and 5? We can spread it to 5. And these are not just main keys. These could also end up being breakdowns in the middle. Because usually what I could do is just, when's the next point he makes contact? Right there. Which then it would just make the foot look like it's floating. And there's little movements that I like to kind of pick up as I go along. Because animation is actually just the illusion of real life. So what I'll usually do is this. Now that I have my keyframe set, you know, and I'll go ahead and shrink up the timeline a little bit more. 926 exactly. I actually like to run over one. So here, go. And we'll set it to 927. So I look at what he's doing. Where's my foot? All of that. And we just grab our main controller and we just start basically moving him over. His foot starts to kick back a little bit more. Pay attention to where that is. Right there. sure you're checking from all sides because you can really kind of throw yourself off. You always want to keeping your center of balance because 3D doesn't have anything to do with no gravity. There's no gravity here, so we are making the elements of gravity. So I'm going to take his foot back a little bit more because I'm now paying attention to his knee bend right here. These little controllers are what actually start moving your knee around, as you can see. When it comes to a rig, there's a lot of different rigs and different styles of rigs out there. I could basically try to get you I would have to do a full video just explaining differences in rigs and what's the difference between an IK and an FK. Um, you know, uh, Google can teach you a whole lot too, especially if you're into new animation. Uh, and then basically just kick your elbow back. As you can see, he's pretty much up now, so I'm going to go ahead and straighten that out. I don't want to do it too much because you'll watch. This has the stretch capability on, so as you can see, it doesn't really deform the rig, but I like to keep a little bit of where it doesn't pop because then, like, what happens is when the movement starts to happen, you can tell the difference. And for some reason it didn't want to keep. Why didn't that want to keep? Oh, because we went all the way to 923. And which one are we on now? Excuse me. I think that was. Alright, so we have here this, okay, this keyframe. Where was that? So I'm going to have to go ahead and take this one. Hold middle mouse over to here, shift, and delete this keyframe because we don't want it. So, okay, like I was saying, pay attention to where the center of gravity is. He's over his right leg a little bit more, so we're going to make that happen. Do a little bit of a bend, make sure he's sitting forward, over, up. I'm not giving a crap about this leg so much right now. It's this one right here. So if he starts to stretch out on one leg, that's okay. Oops, wrong control. Always make sure you have your buttons too. I can show you guys how to set up meld buttons. I'm using Autodesk Maya. A lot of people can use Blender. I'm not a fan of Blender. We don't get along very well. So we all have our preferences in 3D programs. But basically, as you can see, I'm just going to start doing some little tweaks right here. Because if you notice his foot over here, which then means you can kick this little thing right here. We're going to turn our hips down. Because actually, we're not even going to use that control. We're going to use this one right here. Because this one will start controlling, as you can see. Look at the midsection. That's when I try to use more my main control handles for some of this. And then I'll go back and tweak certain elements. Because if you notice, his chest kind of went up, right? So from here, you can see that the body is curving in your midsection, and then it goes up to straight. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to go straighten him up just a little bit. Don't worry about the hands. See, when animation, you always want to just pick your focal points first. Start with your foundations, which is usually your feet, your hips, or then your next thing, where's your weight. Always remember that whatever weight you put your leg on, it usually starts to cock it up just a little bit. And what you'll see, once I go back into this, is I then just start going through the key. And I'm like, okay, what's the difference? It looks like he did a hop in there that I didn't notice. And for some reason, this one wants to keep on there. So I'm going to delete that. There we go. And he did hop. He hopped backwards a little further. So where? Oh, see what he did here? I didn't see that. He had his left foot here, and then he did a hop backwards. So that's where you find this one. That's doing that. We're gonna actually go keep that up a little bit. Whenever your feet are on the ground, you want to make sure you're keeping to your foot controls. Transit a little bit more. I also have my camera set up at a different angle. I should have a breakdown here actually. This is where I might actually just have to take this and set it forward a different spot. But I think what I'm going to do is I should take that pose, throw that in there, which is only 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Because otherwise it's going to look really weird, as you can see that. So he doesn't jump, little hop. And that's what we want to emulate. So we're going to scratch this keyframe right here. Actually, we might even just take this and do something different with it. So we're going to take this, and we're going to actually do, where's that sitting? There's 1, there's 2, and 3. Okay, so he kicks back to that, and we're going to actually shift that over. And what we'll do is this, we're going to start that. We'll keep that one right there. We're going to hit key off. Okay. Undo. This should be 24. Yeah. So 24. Okay. So on 24, you notice he is actually moving over this foot. I'm going to kick this one over to this way. Boom, 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 boom. This foot will then turn and take our x-axis, go 0, down, translating down, and translating. Foot controller, rotate, probably rotate a little bit more. I'm not looking to too much for this here because the camera angle is different. So just pay attention to what your rig is doing, because like to try to go at a diagonal axis can be sometimes very tedious and painful. So don't try to make everything overcomplicated for yourself. Animators do at least try to keep somewhat sense of simplicity. Yes, life does also run in a series of, you know, diagonal lines as well. And this one here will just zero out. And then zero out here. What you do? I want to move. Actually, we're just gonna have to go with the blue leg. Zero foot long, zero foot, zero foot. Okay, I don't think I ever set that to a key. I should have done it again. And now, okay, we have that. Always keep your elbow, your knees. Only very rarely do they try to really posture away, so you don't really ever want to take this thing and be like way over here, because sometimes you can really make it look odd. But primarily, human beings always are able to. You keep this in line. This is a main controller point right here. Don't grab your knees. It can be very tedious at times, especially when you try to go to whatchamacallit, you do your graph editor later. You want to always stick to the controllers that primarily help you set up your main posture points. So what we're doing here is, and see how that foot does something weird. So check this out. I'm going to go over to here. We are now going to boom, auto tangent, boom, and oil filter. That means there's something. And now you'll see it doesn't. And now what I want to do is have that foot look like it doesn't float. I'm going to break down right there. This is my breakdown. Rotate you down a little bit. Up to the side. Down. Don't worry about if the main controller is going through the floor. What we worry about is if the geometry, the mesh is going through the floor. So we are now going to go back to the floor. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. And that's pretty much the elements of animation.